We talked a couple of weeks ago about the phases people are going to go through with COVID-19 and strategies that we're using to cope with it. And we talked about phase one, which was the acute phase, where we first heard this is very dangerous, highly infectious, and we're all going to have to stay home and be quarantined to avoid overwhelming our hospitals. And so it was kind of an immediate shock to the system. And we all gathered up our stuff. We went home and we started working differently.
Yeah.
Then you and I talked about phase two, where we've now been doing this for a while, and how the stress becomes more long-term, more pervasive. And what do you do now that you've been living with your family and your pets and for weeks?
Yeah.
And we talked about what to look for there as signs that people were not coping with it well. Well, now, we're kind of into phase three, where we're straddling the work at home and the return to work. People are now beginning to face a new set of stressors from this change that's coming. Should I go back? Should I not go back? How long should I wait? If I go back, what should I do to protect myself and my coworkers? I mean, it seems like that's phase three. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I am hearing an uptick of people looking now ahead to the return to work and recognizing that while there might have been a lot of uncertainty 6-8 weeks ago, there seems to be more uncertainty about how it's going to go. Returning to work seems to be a more complex endeavor than just working from home.
Well, I agree. I'm hearing different things from my clients and everybody. It's the question on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
How do we manage this transition, and how do we manage it not really knowing with any certainty what the threat level is? I had this blog where it says 40% of people in their company say they've not even been asked how they're doing since the pandemic began.
Wow.
And it says that, according to the survey, that 38% of the group that say they haven't been asked are more likely to say their mental health has declined since the outbreak of the pandemic. And so the question posed was, how can we expect people to cope with this if you don't even ask what they're doing? I think there's a new normal here.
I agree.
I think finding out how people are doing is actually becoming part of being a good leader, a good supervisor, or a good colleague.
One of the tools that we have, the pulse check survey. And then what the plan is to pick an item every week and just say, hey, let's see how we're doing in this one item this week. Let's talk about it. Whether it's, are we able to focus? Are we able to know our triggers today? How are we regulating? So they could pick an item. How are our routines working on a scale of 1 to 5, whatever it is.
Yeah, good
and
idea.
to use it like one a week.
And you actually plot your trend or your trajectory so that you know if the team is going up in stress or down in stress, or what's it look like over time, and why would that be happening, and what can we do or not do that would change that trajectory of stress. It's more making teams accountable for their own environment. This is going to have to be worked out in relationships to create a integrated set of regulating relationships in the workplace. And that's going to have to be more powerful than it ever has been. I was reading some research the other day that said 1/3 of the people who are working from home say that their team doesn't really have any informal contact with them anymore. That they are in meetings and they're doing work together, but they don't really get together for virtual happy hour or, some of these things that we're seeing some teams do. Now, they can't wait to get back to work where this kind of support network is going to be waiting for them. But when they get back, here's what they're likely to see. A person sitting 6 feet away with a mask and a big spray bottle of sanitizer. And then when someone comes by to ask a question, they'll be looking at the distance, and some people will be more sensitive than others and worrying about whether this person actually is exposing them. And if somebody sneezes, the whole place is going to be sensitized.
Yeah, or cough.
Right. And asking that person if they shouldn't consider going home. I don't know that the support's going to escape us, but I don't see it coming back exactly the way people remember it when they left, even when we are back in the workplace. This is going to be tough psychologically. It's going to be tough from a neurobiological point of view.
We're not going to go back to the workplace that we had And so if we're counting on going back just to magically reappear these informal connections, we're going to be waiting a long time. Why not build them in right now? I'm reminded of some people when they first started to work from home that they didn't realize until this moment how much they missed and how important the informal interactions were that they were having. One person said to me, well, I'm going to build in 3 informal touch points every day. And she had a rule of thumb. The people were anybody who reports to me, anybody I work closely with, and anybody I like.
Yeah, I mean, we know from the research a large number of brief positive contacts with other people in a day is really empowering, is very energizing. So it doesn't have to be long, but since we're remote, we don't just drop in and say hello, or we don't say, hey, you want to go get a coffee? You know, all that stuff gets dropped out, but I think we need to rebuild it in a new environment so that we don't lose the richness of these relationships and all the power it gives people.